34 of the Calon Yarns podcast. My name is Lynn, and as always I am coming to you from Cardiff in Wales in the UK, and this is a knitting, crochet, sometimes spinning, sometimes dyeing, but always fibre-based podcast. It is Saturday the 15th of August, I believe it is, although you wouldn't believe it from the rainy, chilly, pretty damp and dire day out there. But yes, it is the 15th of August, and if you are a new viewer, thank you so much for joining me, and if you are a returning or a regular viewer, thank you again for coming back and joining me on my, I was going to say travels, but that's not really a good word at the moment, is it? My journey through my yarn-based projects. There we go. We'll go with that for now. So yes, what have I been up to and what will this podcast hold this week? Well, we have a finished object, yes. We have some works in progress, both knitting and spinning, and some plans for the future, and then just a bit of general chit chat at the end. So I hope you are comfortable. I hope you have a cup of tea, cup of coffee, whatever your heart desires, and that you've got a knitting or a crochet project on the go. Perhaps you're doing a bit of spinning, but whatever you're doing, I hope you are chilled and your project is giving you some joy today. So yes, with all that, on with the podcast. So my finished object, yes, a ta-da moment. It is my, I paused there because I can't quite remember what it's called. I should know. I think this is my fourth. This is the Ranunculus by Knit Cafe Midori. I will put the link down there, of course. And yes, as I say, this is my fourth one. I did this one out of a lace weight yarn. It's on a 6mm needle, so hence the very open plan, open weave style of the garment. A lot of people do them with 4-ply yarn and mohair yarn with it, so it's kind of it's still quite an open texture, but it's a bit more fluffy, a bit more substantial. But I wanted more of a summer top, so I did it out of lace weight, and it is Baby Camel and Silk by a yarn dyer who's sadly no longer with us, but she was the dyer behind Artisan Yarns, and the yarn I bought must be 7 or 8 years ago, I think, at Wonderwool Wales. So it's been tucked away in my stash for all that time, waiting for the right project, and this was it, I believe. I'll see if I can give you a bit of a twirl. I did some weight training yesterday. My legs are very sore, but you know, here we go. I'll try. So yes, it is got a lovely little lacy kind of panel with some twisted stitches on the front, and then quite a long ribbed section at the bottom, but it is so light. You can either do short sleeves or long sleeves. I kind of went somewhere in the middle. So normally if you're doing the short sleeve option, you don't carry on with the stitches here, you just kind of leave them where they are and bind them off when you're splitting for the body. But I kept them on spare yarn, and then just added maybe an inch, 2 inches, just to kind of bring it down to a short sleeved option rather than a capped sleeve option. Yeah, and I am so pleased with it. I was a bit panicky, you know, when you block lace, when you kind of wet it, it all kind of just stretches, and it looks like it will never kind of take its shape again. But once it had dried, and I didn't pin block it or use my wires, I just kind of left it on the blocking board in the shape I wanted, and it did. It kind of resumed itself, it gathered itself back together. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it, and I've still got loads of yarn left actually. Probably it was a 100-gram skein, and I think I've barely used half the skein, maybe about 50 grams, maybe not quite. I think I should really weigh the other half. But yeah, so that is done just in time for the glorious weather to go. I mean, it's been really warm here. I don't know where you guys are, but if you are in Europe and this way, it has been absolutely baking. So I think we reached about 35 degrees Celsius in Cardiff, which is really warm. So that was the day that I decided to paint my fence in the back garden. Yeah, we've been doing a bit of work on our back garden yard, courtyard thing, so we had a new fence put up. So that, yeah, that was the day I chose to do that, which was rather foolish, but I decided that was the day I was doing it, so I had to do it. You know what it's like. So yeah, I've still got some paint, I think, on my leather bracelets, but there we are. Whatever. This is the chat for the end of the episode. We are talking about the Ranunculus. So I'm very pleased with that one, and I think I might move on to a love note next. It's quite a similar setup with this sort of lacy panel on the front. So yeah, I do have some yarn stashed away for a love note. I haven't done one of those yet, by Tin Can Knits. But it's because it's mohair, it's a little bit sticky in warmer weather. It's still quite humid actually, even though it's not sunny anymore. So there we are, finished object for this week. Hurrah! So moving on to what's on needles. So as we know, Sock Mojo is something that isn't really existing. Although this week I have been very good. I have a little bit of progress to show you. I think last time I did maybe 2 rows, shamefully, but this time I have pretty much used all my leftover K-zip knits for this one sock. I've split what I had left in half, so that's about as far as I'm going to get with this one. There we go. So yellows and grey greeny grellos. So that's all that's left from there. And then with the yarn, it was contrast heel and toes. So this is the yarn that is there for come on, the contrast heel and toes. Now what happened, I've made one of these already, but I forgot I had the contrast yarn, so I just made the whole thing out of this, you know, the heels and the toes. And it was only when I was Kitchener stitching the last sock, the second sock, that I was like, oh, I was supposed to use this, wasn't I? So I had quite a bit left over, so I'm doing a second pair. However, I don't think I've got enough for a good long pair. I quite like my socks quite long. So I think I'm going to add in some of this grey that I have to be able to put those 3 together. I think that might be quite nice. So I might stripe these 2 for the rest of the sock, and then see what I've got left to do the toes with, and then I'll do an afterthought heel. So yeah, a simple project that is becoming more complicated by the hour, it seems. But there we go. Hey ho, that's how it goes. So my socks are ticking away nicely for a change. And I think actually it's because I've got some colour work on the needle. So you know when you've done your hour or so of colour work, and then you just need something that's just round and round to be able to watch the TV by. So my other colour work project is quite special to me, because this is out of my first real lot of hand spun. So it is the Ironworks Tee, I'll put the picture in here, by Diana Waller, and this is entirely blamed on Back to Blighty podcast, who was doing one, and I saw it and thought, oh, yes, I need to do that. So what I'm doing it in is, this is my hand spun. Now this is yarn from the FibreHut, which is just outside Evesham, which is where I learned to spin, and it is an alpaca merino and something else mix. Alpaca merino and silk, I think. Yeah, alpaca merino and silk. So I've got 2 of these skeins that I have spun up, and it's sort of turned into maybe a light fingering weight. The teals, oh the teals, those of you that have been here for a while know that we are definitely in a teal phase. And then I am partnering up with the red that I used for my Ranunculus, for my Chauncey sweater, which is also a light fingering, and this is Isagar Tvinny Tweed, which is, I think it's a Danish company, is it? I can't remember. Yeah, Danish company. So I had a tiny little bit left over, so I think I should be able to get 2 rounds of the flower pattern rather than the 3 rounds in the actual pattern. So this is how it's coming up so far. So we can start to see the flowers starting to appear, and I really like that contrast. It's a really rich contrast. It might be looking a little bit brighter than it is in real life, but yeah, it's working out really well. I'm really loving the pattern after the mishap of casting on last time. I've rectified that. Thank you for all your hints and tips, those of you that sent me messages. So it's a little bit thick and thin in places, but actually it's not looking too bad. I'm quite pleased, and I think when it's when I block it, when I wet it, it'll even out even more. But yeah, I am very pleased with the fact that it's knitting up really well. I was worried that it might not have been plied enough, that it was a bit underplied, and I had a couple of recommendations to kind of throw it through the spinning wheel once again, so thank you, Jan, and those of you that sent me that information. But actually, when I swatched it, it was all right, and it sort of matches the ply of the red yarn. So I thought, no, I'll stick with it and see what happens, and then I can learn from that mistake if it's, you know, if it starts to what's the word, bobble or split or whatever, I can kind of learn from that. But as it is, I quite like the look of it. So that one is ticking away very nicely. What else? That's all really on the knitting needles for now, but I have been doing a little bit of spinning. So this is what I have at the moment. So this is a John Arbon Textiles fibre. Ooh, that looks really nice on the camera actually, and it is that beautiful deep red. This is 100% merino, so it's got that deep red and black thread through it. And this one I have, when I applied it together, I did add quite a lot of twists so that I had a difference between the blue fibre and this one. Those of you that have been here for a while know that I'm very much a beginner spinner, so it's all experimental to me. So yes, this is the Violet range of yarn. Oh, that looks very nice. Come on, there we go. The Violet range of yarn in blackcurrant shade, 100 grams of it, and John Arbon Textiles. So that's their little logo there. So yeah, 100 grams. I'm not sure how many meters I've got in this yet, so I will put it on the old niddy noddy and then try and work out how many meters I have. I had a bit of advice from somebody that said when you put it on the niddy noddy, you kind of count the strands so that you know how many meters you have, depending on the size of the niddy noddy. So that sort of makes sense to me. If there's any different ways that you know of working out meterage, then let me know. But that sort of makes sense. That seems to be the least mathematical process of working out the meters. So yeah, that I'm pleased with that, and I managed to do it not in the blistering heat, so I didn't have kind of sweaty hands. So I'll probably get to niddy noddy that today and put it into a skein a little bit later on. So then that moves on to what's next, really. So I've got plenty of yarn for different projects, but I'm not sure what to do next, and there's a reason for that, which I'll chat about at the end, because it kind of falls into that what I've been doing section of the show. But what I have got is some spinning plans. So at the Wonderwall weekend, which is the end of March or April? End of March, the last weekend in March. Yeah, last weekend in March, I think. Always the last weekend in March, and obviously this year it was an online event. So I kind of went a bit mad and bought a few bits and bobs from John Arbon Textiles. So this is the next thing I'm going to spin. It is Badibar, 200 grams. Is that focused? I can't see properly. 200 grams of Badibar, and it is Yarnadelic. I can't remember the fibre content, so I must look that up as I start to spin it. But it is, ooh, look at that. Lovely, shiny blues and sort of coppers, maybe. Maybe that's what that is. Is it copper in real life? Yeah, it's kind of a goldy copper, but it's very lovely, isn't it? Yes. We're still with the blues and teals, but look, I am throwing in another colour there, and thank you, Kim, for drawing attention to wonderful new range of fibres at FibreHut. Check out the website as always. There's some really lovely blended colours and fibres that they've got there. So I think I can't remember what it's called now. I'll put the link below anyway. But yeah, they blend up and card up some really lovely ranges of colour in FibreHut as well. I'm not sponsored by any means, just an absolute fan. So yeah, check out those blends as well. But these are the John Arbon textile blends that I'm working my way through at the moment. So what will I be making that, you ask? I don't know. Do any of us know? With the blackcurrant viola, what shall I be making with that? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. And then sometimes, you know, the pattern just kind of comes to you. Do you know what I mean? So that's what happened with my other one. So hopefully I will get inspiration from one of you lot who sends me a link or a message, or I see something on a podcast and I go, aha, that's the very one. So yeah, we'll see what they grow up into. So in terms of fibre bits and bobs, that's sort of about all I have to tell you. I know it's very short and small, but it's been so hot that sticky hands do not make for happy knitters, really. So not much has happened on the old knitting front other than getting this done and dusted and blocked. Excuse me, I'm going to grab a drink. So yeah, that's about it for the fibre bit. So if you are leaving us here, thank you so much for dropping by. So it's sort of a short, sharp visit, but there we are. Time has been quite thin these last couple of weeks. Painting the fence took up quite a lot of time. But yes, if you're leaving us here, thank you very much. I hope to catch up with you soon. But if you are staying, what have I been up to? So, excuse me, I'm really croaky at the moment. I don't know why. It's quite early. I haven't been talking to anybody yet. So for us, in the UK, it is the last day of clearing, which is when all the universities kind of open up places after the A-level results get released. So if they have any places left over at the university, you can find those places through the clearing process. So yes, the A-level scenario has been just awful this year. The predicted grades given in by the tutors seem to have been downgraded in some areas, upgraded or upheld in others. So if you are a parent or if you are a student going through that nightmare, my heart goes out to you completely. What a stressful time. I don't know how it's going to get resolved, really. This period of time is stressful enough anyway. If any of you have children or grandchildren going through this process, it is so stressful for everybody involved anyway. I remember it myself. My stomach churns when I think about what we went through with our two, however many years ago, 2 years ago. It's just a horrible time waiting to see what you're going to do next. Everything seems to rest on that day that the results come out. And I know it doesn't, you know, paths can be many and varied, but when you are 18, that path seems the only path to choose. So yes, it's a really tricky time. So my thoughts go out to everyone. I hope it gets resolved, and I hope the universities honour their offers of places. That seems to make the most sense to me. But I don't know. So that's obviously quite a stressful time. So I am up early doing the podcast because I am on the clearing session for our university now this morning to see if we can help out anybody and see what we can offer students that are coming our way. So I should be doing that this morning, and other plans, not much really. It's quite a dreary day, so maybe not anything outside. I think I'll probably start getting going on that new fibre to spin. What else have we been up to? It's been so warm, we haven't really been up to much indeed. We've sorted out the garden, painted the fence. It's a lovely shade of blue, as you can see by my bracelet. Yeah. I've realised now I've taken quite a lot of my leather bracelets off here whilst I was painting. I couldn't get this one off because I wasn't sure I'd be able to get it back on. It's sort of kind of melted together. But now I have a really white section here, very pale section that never really gets the sun. So I'm thinking maybe I'll keep them off a little bit longer to try and tan the underneath of my bracelet. So we're doing that, and unfortunately, talking about projects in the future, we were supposed to be going to France next week. My father lives out there, so we were going to go and see him for a couple of weeks, as we always do, but we had the news yesterday, was it, that yes, travel to France from the UK has been now advised against. All but essential travel to France, having to quarantine when you get back. My brother was supposed to be coming back on Monday because they'd been over with my dad, but he managed to get an earlier ferry, so he just got back before the quarantine hits. Otherwise he wouldn't have been able to go to work for a couple of weeks, him or his wife. Yes, and I don't think they would have been too happy about that. So yeah, that's kind of scuppered our plans slightly. So I was starting to gather stuff together for summer holiday projects, but now not so much. So I think I might have to rethink those. Yeah, because it's usually boiling in France at this time of year, so I always kind of take cottony stuff, whereas here the temperature seems to be going to be a little bit less for the next couple of weeks. So yeah, I finish work for a couple of weeks on next Tuesday, so maybe then I'll start to have a little bit more brain space to be able to kind of work out what I'm going to do next. We shall see. So yeah, that's about it for me. That's about all the news I have. Gutted about not being able to go to France, but completely understand the situation. Although it's weird because we would be staying absolutely in the back of beyond. So probably safer over there than here in a city, but there we go. We don't want to be spreading anything anywhere, or on the way there or on the way back. So we will be staycationing in our house, and we are having some building work done. And I had a lovely message from somebody that said, oh, good luck with the remodeling. An American viewer, thank you very much for your message. And remodeling sounds so much more fabulous and fancy, doesn't it? In the UK we say, oh, we're having some work done on the house, but remodeling, I like that. Yeah, so we're having that done, so we'll be packing up stuff from cupboards. It's about time. We've been waiting for this work for about 3 years. The back of our house is sort of falling down slightly, so it's necessary work. It is not whimsical work, it's necessary remodeling. So yeah, we'll be getting ready for that to start at the beginning of September too. So that is about it. I have blathered on and bored you with my boring day-to-day bits and bobs, but I am really glad to have finished this project and to have shared it with you. And I will get cracking on my Ironworks Tee and have a little look through my stash as I have a few days off work to see what's next, and I'll keep you posted. So yeah, drop me a line here. It would be really great to hear from you, or catch up with me on Instagram. That's where I am at the moment mostly. We do have a group on Ravelry, but obviously that has its issues at the moment, so I'm kind of checking that group a bit less often, to be honest. So yeah, if you want to get in touch, then do drop me a line, Instagram or here, and I'd be really happy to hear from you. But that is all from me at the moment. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch up with you next time, probably in a couple of weeks. But take care of yourselves until then. Diolch pawb, hwyl fawr, bye.